At this end, we've recently begun a series called My Canberra, where prominent locals take us to their favourite places. You might remember Carrie Graff took us to the farmers' markets, and now our newsreader, Virginia Haussegger, is going to share with us her love of the sculpture garden at the National Gallery. The series is being produced by Valessa Basic.
How beautiful is it that the garden itself is not fenced in anywhere? You can wander from, one part of Kingston, be walking along the lake and, just wander up this hill and find yourself in front of a Henry Moore or in front of the Flugelman without even realising that you've just happened into a sculpture garden. And that's what a good sculpture garden should do, I think. That's why I think they just got this place so right. I'd come to Canberra for the very first time back in 1982-83 as a student. I was an art student at Melbourne University studying fine arts, among other things. And when this gallery opened, the National Gallery of Australia, I was absolutely fired up with desire to come and see it. And the sculpture garden in particular was something I really wanted to see. I'd heard about it, I'd certainly read about it, and I'd seen TV news stories about it. And it was a big journey for me. I got on a train in Melbourne and caught a train from Melbourne to Yass. I slept at the Yass railway station. Made my way to Canberra and then came straight to the gallery. And the first thing I saw or came to was this sculpture garden. And I've got to say, it was just magical. The thing that struck me most probably was the Bert Frugelman cones. I've seen tourists interact with that sculpture and seen how a lot of people like to take their photos standing in front of it. And that's exactly what I did back in 82, 83. And I was just totally enchanted by the way it distorted you as you look at it, but also the way it reflects the environment around it. It's one of the cleverest pieces of placement of sculpture in a garden that I've ever seen. It works so, so beautifully. The Henry Moore Hills Arches, which I think was done in about 73, this piece speaks to me in a number of ways. Most of his pieces, or a lot of his pieces, are figurative and they often use the female form. There's a lot of mother-child kind of thing. This piece that we've got here at the gallery, although it's called Hills Arches, to me it's very figurative and I can see people in that. I can see a mother and child image that resonates with me in that way. And the thing about this sculpture is I love to touch it. I know at a gallery you're not supposed to touch things, but the lovely thing about being in a sculpture garden is you can go up and run your hand over things. It's a very, very sensual experience. The fact that there are so many international pieces here I think is really important and something that Canberrans should be really proud of. It is a truly excellent collection of international pieces. The Gaston Leger is being a great example, a floating figure. Now, how beautiful is that piece? When you look at it, again, this great big, thick, thumping-thighed woman floating above the water. As I said earlier, the way the gallery has placed the pieces is absolutely perfect. And as a viewer, when you walk towards that and you see this gorgeous woman floating there above water, I find that very joyful. Another favourite piece of mine, and this for me is probably the piece de resistance, is the Clement Mead Moore. This big rustic knot of a steel piece that sits, to my mind, at the front of the sculpture garden because it speaks to the lake and it speaks to the rest of Canberra. To me, it's full of irony. Well, I have to tell you, the piece is actually called Virginia, which is obviously one of the reasons that I was drawn to it. But I fell in love with it before I knew what it was called, and that's true. When I first saw it and I loved it and I walked around it, the thing that got me most was that it's rustic and it's big and it's knotted and it's powerful. And yet, when you feel it and tap it, you'll find there's a hollow sound because it's actually hollow inside. So even though it's this very powerful, impenetrable looking thing, it's hollow. It's actually full of what I think is breath. It's strong, but it's light. It's impenetrable, but it's hollow. It's rustic and knotted, but it's also gentle. I love that piece so much that I got married in front of it.